Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by the Heritage Foundation. For 52 years, Heritage has fought tirelessly for America's founding principles and advancing conservative public policies. Much more than a think tank, Heritage is a conservative policy powerhouse, fighting for the everyday American to advance common sense policies and dismantle the D.C. bureaucracy. Our founding fathers gave us an extraordinary system of government, and the Heritage Foundation is dedicated to defending the heritage and carrying on their legacy for future generations. So get involved by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda by visiting heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Folks, obviously we're getting into AOC's little brain. She now has Mark Levin on the brain, such as her brain is. Wait till after Saturday's opening statement on Life, Liberty, and Levin. That's right, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Wait until that. Boy, I'll be in their brains, hers, Bernie Sanders, and the rest of the Marxist Islamist reprobates. But I never said that AOC was smart enough to actually read Marx, or Hegel, or Wilson, or any of it. But she's a Marxist nonetheless. You know, most Marxists, America, have not read anything. Maybe they've taken a dive in the Communist Manifesto, but that's about it. Because as we've discussed, what is the strength of Marxism? It is an irrational, impossible ideology. When you read Marx, you can see it's self-conflicting. That's why there's so many appendages to it today as I speak. It can be reduced easily to sloganeers and slogans. And we're going to hear that in Bernie the Red Sanders, who's in Las Vegas, which is like the capitalism capital of the world. But elsewhere, running around like he's a homeless old KGB agent on a wooden soapbox, wearing a raincoat and yelling at the top of his lungs, 8 days of growth on his face, his hair disheveled, smells like what you might step in by accident on a lawn. That's what he sounds like, looks like, and probably is. Probably is. And we're told by Democrats, listen to Bernie, he's got a way. I mean, he's telling us how to do this. Listen to Bernie. And the juggernaut of support he gets from a state called Vermont, smaller than most counties in America, which is why we love Vermont. I could see living there, not with him as the senator. Nonetheless, AOC, or as we like to lovingly refer to her, AOC, She knows about creating jobs elsewhere. She destroyed thousands of Amazon jobs that were targeted for her district. Oh, yes. Other than that, I don't know what the hell she's ever done. Does anybody else? No. They say she pours a good drink. I hope so. Because most of us would need to drink a good drink after listening to her mealy-mouthed pablum. But here she is. They're fighting, ladies and gentlemen, the oligarchy. The oligarchy. Which is interesting, too, Mr. Producer, because I've been using that term, oligarchy, to describe them. Not for months, for years. So they learned a new word. Oligarchy. Oligarchy. The billionaire, the oligarchy. Anyway, these two are true blue Marxists. She runs with this so-called Democratic Justice Group backing her. It's Marxist. He's a Democratic Socialist. That's a Marxist. Marx said socialists were halfway communists. That sounds about right. But Bernie's a full-way communist, as I've told you before. He was at a kibbutz in Israel. Now, there were communist kibbutz in Israel, or as we say in Jewish, kibbutzim. But there were. There were. But he picked the Stalinist one. Wow. He did. So here is Ayach. I didn't say she's book read. I didn't say she's intelligent. I didn't even say she's literate. I said she's a Marxist. She's good with the slogans. Cut 4. Go.
You know, Fox News and the right wing will have you believe that these American values are something out of the Communist Manifesto. That we believe these things because we went to college and read them in a book somewhere. But let me tell you, Fox News, I don't believe these things. I don't believe in healthcare, labor, and human dignity because I'm a Marxist. I believe it because I was a waitress. With my mom to go to school because I worked double shifts to keep the lights on.
Now, you actually grew up in Westchester, in a fairly well-to-do neighborhood. But she proves that she's a Marxist. Look at that. I'm part of the proletariat. She grew up in Westchester, New York. She went to college, too, didn't she, Mr. Producer? Yes, I believe so, too. Believing in health care, labor, whatever that means, and human dignity, she believes in more than that. She believes in redistributing wealth. She believes in the centralization of government. She's part of the cabal in the House of Representatives. That is radical hard left that's constantly putting down the country. Not because she was a waitress. She was a bartender mostly, but okay. But because she's a Marxist. Now, again, she's too stupid to be a scholarly Marxist or an intellectual Marxist, such as they are. She's just a garden variety stupid Marxist. But where did she get this from? Does everybody at Fox talk about the Communist Manifesto, Mr. Producer? Does everybody at Fox use the word Marxist? When I came to Fox, nobody used the word Marxist. They kept using the word progressive. And I kept telling them on air and off, stop using the word progressive. Stop using the word, hyphenated, left wing. They're Marxists. Stop using the word socialist. They're Marxists. Say the word. Everybody. Marxist, Marxist. And I wrote a book called American Marxism. And I think I'm in her pea brain right now. Hey, you are welcome to come on this program. You have an open invitation to come on this platform, my television show, my Blaze show. So does your uncle, Bernie the Red Sanders. Now, Bernie the Red Sanders is also a low IQ moron. Really hasn't accomplished much in his life other than his own self-promotion and the hierarchy in the political system. But he's got the sayings down. He's got the slogans down, man. He's got them down. Oligarch, billionaires, the people, democracy. Yes, he's got them down. Ayach does not. She does not. He does. And so let's take a listen in on Bernie Sanders. Cut one, Mr. Producer. He's at the same Las Vegas rally. They're really getting the people, the resistance going. I hate to tell them we're the resistance. You and me, we're the resistance. Trump's the resistance to the massive government, the administrative state, the entrenched radical judges. By the way, those of you out there in the media who use the audio that Mr. Producer dug up on PBS, in which Chuck Schumer confesses to putting progressive judges, 235 of them, on the courts. We work hard to find these things. They're not all over the place. If you're going to use them, at least give a hat tip to the Mark Levin show or to Mr. Producer. I see it out there. Did you see this, Rich? It's really disgusting. It's bizarre. But we move on. Anyway, a rally in Las Vegas. Cut one, go.
Trust me, I work in Washington and I know the power of the oligarchs. They are very powerful. But if we stand together, I have zero doubt that we can and will defeat them, that we can transform the economics and politics.
Transform the economics of the country. See, he's defending the edifice that the so-called progressives, a.k.a. American Marxists, have built. He defends that. Every inch of it, every penny of it. But we can transform the economics of America. Go ahead.
This country, and that we can have an economy and a government that works for all of us, not just the 1%.
Not just the 1%. Here's his problem. He thinks he's talking to the proletariat. That is, he thinks he's talking to the masses. The vast majority of Americans love this country. The vast majority of Americans are patriots. The vast majority of Americans would fight and die to protect and save this country. It's called the middle class. The vast majority of Americans are the people who make this country work, pay the taxes, who carry the freight. It's not for the 1%. If it were the 1%, there would have been a communist revolution or a fascist revolution or some kind of revolution, bottom up, with the proletariat, we the people rising up and overthrowing the government. It's the government of the 1%, of the bureaucrats, of the judges who are trying to control us. He's got his Marxist propaganda inside out, upside down. But he is spewing the Marxist slogans. And there's more. Cut two, go.
And so today we are here to say, very loudly and clearly, no, we will not accept an oligarchic form of society where a handful of billionaires run the government.
You see, AOC, this is the sloganeering. He'll never actually explain what Marxism is because he's too dense, and or he's afraid that he'll upset his followers. Wait a minute. You're going to take all of our private property? Wait a minute. You're going to shut down our churches and synagogues and mosques? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We're going to move the people in the cities to the agricultural areas and the people in the agricultural areas to the city? Wait a minute. We're going to separate the children from their parents. We're going to destroy the relationship between parent, child, child and child. We're going to destroy the nuclear family. Wait a minute. You're going to force us into indoctrination schools? Wait a minute. This is Marxism. No, focus on the billionaires and the... Shut up, you old man, you damn fool. But here he is again. Cut two, go.
No, we will not accept an authoritarian form of society.
Can anybody name one Marxist society that's not authoritarian? Just name one. One. Anyone. Pick anyone. Which one's not authoritarian? In fact, can anybody name a blue state in the United States of America during the pandemic that wasn't authoritarian? Just name one. They all were. You can't name one. Authoritarian, huh? He knows all about authoritarians, doesn't he? Tell me, the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, the Rockefeller family, the wealthiest family on the face of the earth for a period of time there, their money goes to all left-wing causes because the foundation was overtaken by the left. So you have a problem with those billionaires? I just wonder. George Soros makes his money through quote-unquote finances, whatever that means. Funds all kinds of radical left-wing Marxist, Islamist operations. How come Sanders doesn't talk about that billionaire? Or Buffett, another liberal Democrat. Or Gates, another guy that's worth $250 billion. Billionaires. Or Xi, who's a billionaire in communist China. Or Un, the inbred. He's a billionaire in North Korea. And how about in Venezuela, Maduro? He's a billionaire. The Castro brothers are billionaires. How is it that all the comrades that run these Marxist state, they're not only authoritarian, genocidal hellholes, but how is it they're all billionaires? Do they create things? No, they steal stuff. How is it that Bernie Sanders is a millionaire? Shouldn't he be earning the income of a janitor? Hey, Bernie, come on the show. I'd love to have you. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our Founding Fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. It's not Marxist. She runs as a Marxist, does AOC, and now she's trying to distance herself from it. That's why I'm in her head. I'm very dangerous to these people, ladies and gentlemen. I know who they are. I know who they listen to. Those who have dared to read Marx and Engels and the rest of them takes a lot of work and a lot of time. Those of us who have, a handful of us, to be perfectly honest, there's a handful of us. I doubt any Republican in Congress has, any Republican in the administration has, any Republican on Fox has, any Republican in the media. I have. I know what she is. I know who she is. Same with Bernie Sanders. I know exactly who they are. Tell me any place on the face of the earth where Marxism works. In fact, show me any place on the face of the earth where economic socialism works. Just show me. In fact, show me any state in the United States where either of them work. Why is everybody going to Florida and Tennessee? I'll be right back. Folks, I need to talk to you about something crucial to the future of America. Our friends at the Heritage Foundation are on the front lines fighting for our conservative values. Heritage is dedicated to promoting policies that will help bolster our economy, protect our borders, and uphold the rule of law. They're working tirelessly to defend our Constitution and the principles that make America exceptional. To help accomplish this, they need you to complete their national survey on President Trump's agenda today. So you can participate in this survey by going to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Your responses are crucial to this survey, and they'll provide Heritage leadership with crucial feedback as they work closely with the folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. By completing this very important survey today, you're standing up for the values that have made this country great. And my friends at Heritage need you to act now to maximize their impact on President Trump's first 100 days. So please don't wait. Our future depends on you. Together, we can make a difference, and future generations inherit a nation that is free, prosperous, and strong. So please, right now, visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, complete your survey, and join the fight for America's future. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, the real voice of America, is live right now at 877-381-3811.
Oh, yes. That be me. We're the real voice of America. You can get rid of the old one that's pushing Hamas and all kinds of crap, as a matter of fact. Well, but it's called the voice of America. Don't worry. I'm the real voice of America. Oh, yeah. I'm the real voice of America. What's wrong with that? Speaking of communists, Just the News, which is a great site, John Solomon's site, I commend it to you. Meet the pro-CCP, Marxist revolutionary group behind the Mahmoud Khalil protests. Now, I've told you the first, and repeatedly, of this fusion between Marxism and Islamism. I'm waiting for that to be regurgitated soon. The People's Forum helped organize the encampments on Columbia University's campus. Now the well-founded pro-CCP Marxist group is organizing the protests to free Mahmoud Khalil. Protests against the arrest of a pro-Palestinian. He's not pro-Palestinian. He's pro-Hamas. Now, either there's a difference between Hamas and the Palestinians, or there isn't. If there isn't, then it's pro-Hamas. If there is, then it's pro-Hamas. Either way. Hello, either way. Protests against the arrest of pro-Hamas Columbia graduate student are being organized by a Marxist revolutionary group that is pro-communist, anti-Israel, anti-American, has potential links to the Communist Chinese Party, the CCP. Mahmoud Khalil, a leader in the pro-Hamas and anti-Israel encampments at Columbia University. Ooh, just free speech? What are you trying to deport him for? Was detained earlier this month by the Trump administration, as you well know. He led activities aligned to Hamas, a designated terrorist organization. Oh, well, you know. Come on, look the other way. Turn the other cheek. The People's Forum, anything that's the people's this, that, or the other, or the Reform Party, or the Democracy for, it's all communist crap. The People's Forum helped organize some of the campus chaos. It's now organizing protests. Free Khalil! He's a political prisoner! Free Khalil! Columbia University Apartheid Divest. That's the name of Khalil's front group. CUAD. That's right. CUAD is the pro-Hamas and anti-Israel group that sparked, a.k.a. led, many of the student encampments at Columbia University. Khalil was a lead, quote-unquote, negotiator for as the group occupied buildings on Columbia's campus in the wake of the Hamas slaughter of innocent Jews on October 7, 2023. Oh, yeah. A former leader, Kayamani James, said, quote, the Zionists don't deserve to live, unquote, was eventually banned from campus That was just free speech. Come on now. Hitler was free speech. Goring was free speech. Himmler was free speech. Oh, yeah. Don't you know this? Well, initially apologized for James' remarks. Last October, the group withdrew its apology. Withdrew it. And declared, quote, "We support liberation by any means necessary." This is the group that's led by Khalil. You understand? The political prisoner. We support liberation by any means necessary, including armed resistance. Long live the Intifada, which, of course, is a terrorist uprising. Now, the group, CUAD, had also shared a message on Instagram stating, "We are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization." Wow. So obliterate the Jews and destroy Western civilization. No wonder he got a student visa, now has a green card. Living pleasantly, minding his own business in the United States of America. Every now and then, popping up that head of his from under the rock to spew First Amendment protected speech. We know this, of course. Following my previous signed executive order, ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud and radical foreign pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University, said President Trump. You gotta love President Trump, man. This guy is a hard ass. He just is. He knows who the bad guys are. He knows who the good guys are. He's just fantastic. And look what he's up against. And look how he's exposed the ACLU as pro-Hamas and terrorist. That's my opinion. Look how he's exposed these judges as pro-Hamas and terrorism. Just my opinion. Look what he's done, Trump. Now, the Trump Education Department has also pulled hundreds of millions of dollars worth of grants from Columbia and has provided the university with a list of demands to comply. Apparently, they're starting to go through that list. Now, here's a college that has tens of billions of dollars. And look how they just put it aside. They won't touch it, and they want our tax money. It's unbelievable. Khalil's large legal team, he's got this massive legal team filled with Marxists, Islamists, just a whole variety of scuzzballs, is fighting his detention and deportation, writing in federal court that this case concerns the government's targeted, retaliatory detention and attempted removal of a student protester. He's not a student because of his constitutionally protected speech. That's where it's wrong. Is he being targeted? Yes. Is it retaliatory? Yes. That's the way it works when you're dealing with terrorists or terrorist supporters. Is attempted removal? That's true. Constitutionally protected speech? No, not in the least. But of course, we've got a left-wing kook judge in New York. We need to take a close look at this. The People's Forum has been a driving force behind protests condemning the detention and possible deportation of Khalil. Scores of videos posted by the Forum on social media. Yeah, who's funding them? Of course. The dark money Democrats, Qatar. By the way, notice how nobody, and I mean nobody, is mentioning that Qatar gave $5 million to the Medal of Honor Museum, which is a disgrace. They shouldn't have taken one penny from Qatar. What's that all about? Khalil's legal team addressed the crowd at a protest organized by the Forum. They organize their protests. They organize it all. They address it. They hire the lawyers. You and me just supposed to sit back and take it all. There's no indication Khalil himself is involved in the protest by the People's Forum. Yes, but I would tell our friend John Solomon there's every indication he was involved in the others. The communist group has connected its pro-Khalil efforts to its border shut it down for Palestine street protest campaign and to its fight against ICE being allowed on campus. Group said that we will take to the streets to demand the immediate release of Mahmoud Khalil. Notice they don't take to the streets to demand the immediate release of the hostages that Hamas has. Notice? Have you noticed that? The Forum's leader, Manolo de los Santos, has also personally tweeted multiple times to promote the Forum-led protests for Khalil. The Forum immediately promoted a petition the day after Khalil was arrested with a petition contending Khalil has been the target of various Zionist harassment campaigns. Don't they sound like Nazis, Mr. Producer? It's because they are. Another petition by the Forum, signed by a host of left-wing celebrities and activists, oh yeah, lamented that Mahmoud is just the first target of the Trump administration's newfound anti-Semitism task force. Well, that's true. No debate there. For months, we've been the target of a campaign that alleges our funding comes from dark money. Well, it does. A few years ago, we met Roy Singham, a Marxist comrade who sold his company and donated most of his wealth to nonprofits that focus on political education, culture, and internationalism. They tweeted that in December 2021. Roy Singham. Hey, Bernie, this billionaire there. Billion top 1%. Funding terrorist supporters, Bernie. Singham married Jody Evans, the co-founder of the radical left-wing group Code Pink, which is a communist front group, by the way, in 2017. Her group touts itself as anti-war. It's become increasingly pro-China. There you go. The New York Slimes, the Holocaust-denying New York Slimes, the Hamas-promoting New York Slimes, reported that Singham works in Shanghai, that his efforts there are linked to the CCP, the Communist Party of New York. Excuse me, close. Communist People's Party. That he has attended at least one CCP workshop on promoting the party globally. The outlet has reported that Singham provides backing for the People's Forum. The Free Beacon reported that key leaders from the Forum serve in top position at Singham's Justice and Education Fund. Oh, that's the other word. Justice. Justice and Education Fund. Jew-hating, American-hating communists and Islamists. Justice. The outlet reported the network run by Singham is also behind Breakthrough Media and Dongshang News, who both push pro-China narratives and whose content is regularly reshared by the Forum. So I told you before, this is the Marxist-Islamist fusion. The Free Press reported that Singham and Evans have donated over $20.4 million to this group that's at Columbia and elsewhere, the People's Forum, from 2017 to 2022 through a series of shell organizations and donor advisory groups. See, the FBI needs to go after these people. The outlet reported that the pro-China No Cold War group is also linked to Singham's network. Singham was unable to be reached for comment. The People's Forum didn't respond to requests for comment. Excuse me. Cholera. People's Forum reported total revenue. Listen to this. Of over $15 million, total expenses of over $3.6 million, and $17 million in net assets in 2019, according to Influence Watch. And the Forum is openly pro-communist China. It's produced dozens of what it describes as teaching materials, many of them pro-CCP. The multi-party series titled China 75 from October praised the communist revolution in China. So they're funded by communist China, they're funded by Qatar, they're funded by Iran, they're funded by Hamas. Free speech, Mark. Free speech. The article goes on. It's an outstanding piece, absolutely outstanding, by Just the News and John Solomon's piece. Let's see if I can give the author credit. Jerry Dunleavy, great job on this piece. We're going to post it, as we post all the sources of the information I provide you that I use on this program on marklevinshow.com. That's the mothership. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leaders leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our founding fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. Since today is Friday, I know that's the case, Mr. Producer. I looked at the calendar. Tomorrow's Saturday. Tomorrow's March 22nd. Why is March 22nd important, America? Why is it important, Mr. Producer? It's my beautiful daughter Lauren's, our beautiful daughter Lauren's birthday. She was born on March 22nd, so I tell you what, you're going to have to really dig into the archives. Remember that song she sang years and years ago? Let's see if we can find it during the top of the hour break and play it next hour. We're very proud of all our kids. We're very proud of our grandkids. Each and every one of them is fantastic. Do we have enough time? I think we should wait. We'll wait till we come in the next hour. It's too tight to do it. To do it right now. But some of you people who've listened for a while, you know what I mean. It's a great song. She does a great job, as a matter of fact. How many of you have ever heard of Elise Jordan, political analyst, on the Morning Schmo Show? None of you, of course. Well, her advice to the Democrats is, we need to embrace Bernie Sanders. We need to embrace him. Marxism. Go around using the word. Oligarch. 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 The top 1%. I'm waiting for his dentures to fall out one day. I'm waiting for his dentures to fall out. He's a weird dude. Cut 3, go.
That is the message the Democrats should run with. Oligarchy, it is, they are getting rich, you are getting nothing. And they need to just...
but we're not Marxists with the class warfare. Now, here's the problem, and I mentioned this the other day. The new Marxism is identity politics. It's not economic class warfare. They're skipping over the culture war and all this wokeism. Economic Marxism is so blasé. Elsie Jordan, political analyst, whoever the hell she is, she must be a somebody, not a nobody, because she's on the Joe Scarborough show. And is he a nobody? Maybe he is. Maybe the show is. I don't know. But Elise Jordan, follow Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders isn't even a Democrat. He's a democratic socialist. He's not even a... Follow him. I'm telling you, follow him. Go ahead.
Hard at that. They need to let their anger show. They need to just...
Oh, that's the problem. They're not letting their anger show. You see here? The Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of old. Or maybe it is. Depends how you look at it. Democrat Party was a very angry party before and during the Civil War. I seem to remember reading about that somewhere. Boy, they dug in on slavery. Man, oh, man, Shepherds. They blew up the country. They went to war. They fought for slavery. Past few years, they fought for slavery on the border. Women being sold into sex slavery. But they said those borders got to be open. They've got to be open. And then they told us that they were secure, and then they told us they were open, and we needed bisexual legislation. Bipartisan legislation. Did they not, Mr. Producer? So they wanted the border open. They were pretending it was closed. Then they pretended it was open, but that Donald Trump opened it. They're insane. They're liars. But now follow Bernie Sanders, but he's not a Marxist. No, oligarchs. Bernie, I'm going to teach you a few other words, too, that you might want to spew. Can you imagine being in the front or row with this guy, or the second or third row with this guy, with the load of spittle just flaming out of this guy's mouth? I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. I be at here, Mr. Producer. It be I. Now, we talked about Khalil, and there is an entire phalanx of Islamists who the prior administration, the Biden regime, and his Democrats led into this country, who will be protected by the Democrat judges and the Democrat media. In the effort to round them up and kick their asses out of the country, you see, will be called authoritarian. Oligarchs! Our friends over at the Federalist, they get Brianna Lyman. You'd never know from corrupt media that the student facing deportation, ready for this one, is a Hamas chief's son-in-law. He's Himmler's son-in-law. The Arab Himmler, you know. The propaganda press continues to play fast and loose with the truth, and nowhere is that more apparent than in their coverage of the Trump administration's effort to detain yet another terrorist sympathizer living in the United States. Sorry. This time it's Badr Khan Suri. It would be Badr Khan Suri, depending on the dialect. A man with ties to a senior Hamas official. But you wouldn't necessarily glean that from the deliberately misleading headlines and articles. Here we have Politico. You may recall Politico was funded by the government. They should be humiliated and shut that trash operation down. But no. That's why I call them the Pravda and Al Jazeera of America, all these media outlets. Here's Politico's Kyle Cheney and Josh Gersten. Trump is seeking to deport another academic who's legally in the country, the lawsuit says. Cheney and Gersten added that Suri says he's being punished because of the suspected views of his wife, U.S. citizen with Palestinian heritage. Saw a coward hiding behind his wife. Suspected views of his wife, a U.S. citizen. Suri's wife is a Palestinian-born. Mafez Salah. Salah is a student. You know, it's time to shut these universities down and start all over again. What are they really adding to this country? Seriously, they're not what they were supposed to be. Academic freedom, freedom of speech, the exchange of ideas, the promotion of enlightenment and reformation, the values of the West. Instead, it's the opposite. It's filled with Hitler youth. It's filled with Stalin youth. Same with the faculty. It's the enemy within. That's right, I said it. It's the enemy within. It's what it is. Salah is a student at Georgetown as well as a former writer for Al Jazeera. Now, Al Jazeera is owned by Qatar. Qatar is a terrorist regime which peddles Hamas propaganda and, of course, which subsidized Hamas, armed Hamas, and protected its leaders. Salah previously worked with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas. So they got all kinds of ties, blood ties, open ties, ideological ties to Hamas and Qatar. Saleh's father, Youssef, was a senior advisor to Hamas leadership, according to National Review. a senior advisor to Hamas leadership. A Wikipedia page for Youssef describes him as Hamas's gate to the West, I'm quoting, because of his extensive connections to Hamas and his years living in the United States, unquote. What a lovely band of terrorist-supporting bastards, huh? They contribute so much to the United States. Remember, the purpose of immigration is to improve our country. Aren't they improving our country? They're so fantastic. Salah, a U.S. citizen, also posted several pieces of Hamas propaganda on her social media account, including a video that, according to National Review, quote, claimed Hamas was forced to carry out the attack because Israel is supposedly a fascist occupation state. Israel has Judaized their Quds, an apparent attempt at claiming Jews have Judaized Jerusalem. They're not very smart or literate, these terrorists and terrorist lovers. I mean, they can read the Bible, can't they? They're not in it. They're not in it. The Jews are. And the Jews are trying to build, quote, their alleged temple of the ruins of Al-Aqsa. Saleh also posted tributes to several Hamas terrorists, including Sinwar, Haniya, and Deif, according to National Review. Saleh made a post declaring, America is the plague, according to National Review. I don't know how this country is going to survive. These people are in their 20s and their early 30s and their late teens. How is this country going to survive? Immigrants are supposed to come into this country and be assimilated into our culture. But since we don't assimilate people into our culture anymore in our public schools with Randy Weingarten and her ilk, in our colleges and universities, and the Democrat Party, they're not being assimilated into our culture, into our country. They're being taught to hate it. So I don't know what's going to happen the next generation. It's frightening for our kids and grandkids, don't you think? Secretary of Homeland Security Tricia McLaughlin stated in a post on X, however, that Syria has close connections to a known or suspected terrorist and is actively spreading Hamas propaganda promoting anti-Semitism on social media. Federal law prohibits providing material support or resources to any designated terrorist organization. Got that, Judge? Got that, Judge, in Manhattan? You see what it says? As you sit on your fat ass with your two clerks? May I say with all due respect? That didn't stop Cheney and Gersten of Politico, part of the government media, that's right, from pretending that Suri's just, quote, a Georgetown University researcher who was studying and teaching on a student visa, unquote. Cheney and Gersten, you know what you are? Disgusting. It's a propagandist. Pukes. It's a similar angle taken by the New York Slimes. Oh, that would be the Holocaust-denying New York Times. Hank Sanders and Zolan Yanu Youngs. Whatever happened to Frank Smith and Ernie Grabatsky? I don't know. Who described the situation as the government detaining, quote, an Indian citizen who was studying and teaching at Georgetown University. That's all. Not once do Sanders and Kano Youngs mention that Suri's wife posts Hamas propaganda. NBC News, Gary Grumbach of the famous Grumbach High Wire Circus Act, and Chloe Atkins didn't mention Suri's wife, her post peddling Hamas propaganda, or her daddy's involvement with Hamas. As far as NBC News readers know, Suri is just a graduate student from India whose lawyer says did nothing wrong. You see, Trump is a dictator. In the world of Politico, the New York Slimes, and NBC News, Suri's connection to Hamas gets airbrushed out of the picture. She's merely a researcher and graduate student caught up in a legal dispute. Propaganda press frames the story as though the government's actions are driven by a general opposition to free speech, rather than the clear present danger posed by an individual with ties to a terrorist organization that seeks the destruction of America's allies and America. Oh, yes. But then again, so did the Democrat Party leadership. When the media omit the facts that matter most, it's clear that they are more interested in undermining the Trump administration in court and in public opinion, I might add, the country, than in informing the public about the very threats that America faces. Brianna Lyman is an elections correspondent at The Federalist, graduate of Fordham University, a degree in international political economy. She's really smart, too. You can tell. And I want to thank the Federalists for doing what none of these other outlets did. It's called propaganda. It's called lies. The media are deceiving you. But we know that, don't we? That's right. Donald Trump is a dictator. Yeah, he's against the top 1%. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. We're here with our buddy Jim Trusty, attorney extraordinaire. Jim, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. Just want to start this way, Jim. Have you ever seen so many of these trial judges, these lower court federal district, not national judges, issuing rulings in every aspect of executive branch ministerial tasks to try and stop this president?
No, I mean, the numbers are clear. The number of preliminary injunctions, which are normally kind of a rare creature, even in the abstract, before you start talking about the executive branch powers, the numbers are through the roof for President Trump compared to any other chief executive. And really what you have, this is just lawfare continued. We've been living this lawfare nightmare where phalanxes of lawyers wait in the bushes to attack everything that comes out of this White House. They're filing suits every day. They're picking their venues carefully. They're picking their judges as best they can. And they're landing in very favorable kind of echo chamber places where they can get judges to immediately sit for Saturday hearings and demand answers to questions they're not entitled to. And, it's putting a lot of pressure on the system when lawfare continues unabated.
And this is a very, very serious constitutional issue. We're not talking about a case here and there, a civil or criminal case where judges get things wrong. Chuck Schumer bragged on PBS, Jim Trusty, that they installed 235, his words, not mine, progressive judges to stop Trump should he get elected president. He's doing exactly what we're saying he's doing and these judges are doing. They're being cherry-picked by bringing cases in these districts where these judges exist. They're getting the results they want. The plaintiffs are. Many of them are Democrat politicians, attorneys general, union bosses, and the like. I think the American people are going to lose total faith in this process, don't you?
Yeah, you think about Justice Roberts having said recently that we shouldn't identify the parties to which judges belong. And I thought to myself, that's a wonderfully hopeful and naive thought. But the reality is, particularly across the Democratic appointed judges, they're as predictable as rain sometimes. And you see bold partisanship by district court judges who overstep their bounds, who just comfortably announce that they're going to take control of executive branch functions. I mean, you look at what's happening in D.C. with Judge Boasberg right now. His questions had nothing to do with legal authority or his ability to challenge an act within the Alien Enemies Act. His questions were setups for contempt. Why aren't you giving me factual details that I demand in this kind of shady hearing? Why are you not trusting me when I say submit something under seal? And they know on the government side there's a good chance that seal is going to last about a New York minute and lead to public disclosure. So, they're being told, if you're the government, you're being told, come respond to complicated issues by judges who don't seem to have any real set parameters to what they're going to inquire about. And then they're speeding and they're kind of racing through this system. And I think ultimately putting pressure on a Supreme Court that doesn't want to have to deal with these questions. I mean, that's really the message from Justice Roberts is don't make us the ones that are unpopular because we keep undoing politicized decisions. But short of Congress weighing in and changing a lot of laws, it's coming to the Supreme Court. And I think I heard somebody the other day say grow a pair, but that's kind of what has to happen with the Supreme Court. They have to realize they're going to be the arbiters of how much of this lawfare our country can tolerate.
And you know, Jim Trusty, a couple of weeks ago, they could have killed this thing right in the crib. They had that case from the judge who was forcing the administration to spend $2 billion. I understand the technical aspects. Bills were, created and invoices. It doesn't matter. And not only that, you had the 4 conservative justices who were absolutely stunned and appalled. They're appalled at these national injunctions from these district courts, which has gotten completely out of it. They're actually more powerful than the Supreme Court, if you think about it. One judge sits there and says, oh, you can do that. Oh, you can't do that. He's in San Francisco. He's in Seattle, Boston, Providence, Washington, D.C., the whole country. And you turn that plane around and you bring those Venezuelan gang members back, and you do it now. You do it by 5 p.m. I'm going, what the hell is this? And by the way, I litigated the case with Landmark Legal Foundation in 2003 in front of Judge Lamberth. It is the practice of that district in Washington, D.C., that these, whether they're temporary restraining orders, whether they are injunctions, whether they're orders, period, they must be reduced to writing so the people who they're directed to have notice. When you are ordering an entire bureaucracy to do something, you can't just say something from the bench and expect to whisper down the lane that it's going to reach the target. The president's not sitting there. The attorney general's not sitting there. The secretary of DHS isn't sitting there. He blew it. So if he tries to hold them in contempt, Judge Lambert said, well, I can't because I didn't put it in writing. He's going to have a little bit of a problem, isn't he?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing, and you know this too, Mark, coming up with a written decision, a written ruling, is very different than a full written opinion. I mean, you would be okay on that front as a judge if you issued a minute order, they call, where you literally don't even issue a piece of paper. You get on the docket and you say, I'm ordering A, B, and C. You don't have to really give your full rationale to meet, kind of check that box.
Right.
So, you're right. But here's the thing. I mean, a little part of me thinks there's kind of an unintended consequence that could be brewing here. The facts of this particular case are really kind of the right kind of facts for the executive branch. I've got 261 murderers, rapists, killers from a gang that invaded this country during a 4-year period of an open border. So your starting facts are helpful. The thought that a district court judge should jump to the height that the ACLU and others make him jump by saying, let's have a hearing Saturday, let's ignore privileges that could apply to the government making this type of decision to coordinate with El Salvador, and then to perhaps fast forward into contempt, which seems to be where Boasberg is going. I in some ways, those are facts that set up a very nice platform for challenging these nationwide injunctions in a very sympathetic way. So if that were to make its way, I don't expect a lot of help from the circuit court. The D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals
bad court.
It's also kind of in the business of taking their time when the district court rushes. So they allow hearings to happen without acting as quickly as they could sometimes to stay the proceedings and start weighing in. So I think, again, this is what happens with lawfare. They pick not just the district, but the circuit where they think they're going to be pretty good. Rhode Island, North California, Maryland, D.C., and you're kind of stuck bubbling up to the Supreme Court. But I think the facts of this particular one with Tren de Aragua, particularly if they did vet carefully and they can literally say all these people are horrible people, those are good facts for an opinion coming out of the Supreme Court someday.
I agree. But don't you also think, excuse me, the longer this goes on, it's going to be harder to have a rule or two to set down for these courts. In other words, you're getting these disparate opinions in every area that Trump is making decisions and so forth. So they can talk about in terms of national injunctions. Yes, I agree. But when it comes to the substance of this stuff, I don't know. It's going to get much more complicated. Let's continue this discussion. I want to hear what Jim has to say about that when we're when we return. We'll be right back. This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then tried blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
All right, Jim Trust, I actually do remember now, which is this. The longer this goes on, the tougher it's going to be for the Supreme Court to come up with the rules. Don't you think? I mean, they can do it maybe on the injunctions not being national in some form, but the diversity of these cases and so forth and so on, and the violation of separation of powers becomes more complicated. Wouldn't it have been better if John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett have joined the other four justices? I'm sure William Rehnquist would have, and Scalia would have, and so forth, and put an end to this right away?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a legal whack-a-mole going on here where the issues, I mean, the lawfare continues unabated. It's always hurried, emergency, injunctions, selective venues, but the actual underlying issues as they are can be radically different, right? It's a different issue about Congress having the power of the purse than there is the employment of the Alien Enemies Act. So there's always going to be some sort of different legal hook. And you're right, the more, it's really only limited by the creativity of a bunch of attorneys who are at war with this president. So they're always going to come up with new stuff until there's some sort of comprehensive shutdown, of the attacks on the executive branch.
What do you make of Schumer on PBS the other day, simply saying, yes, there's a constitutional crisis. Yes, Trump is a dictator. Yes, this is why I got 235 progressive judges on the bench to stop him. Is that a confession? Yeah, well, for some reason, Chuck Schumer seems to just kind of get away with whatever verbiage he wants. I mean, I still haven't gotten past the fact that he threatened two sitting Supreme Court justices over Roe versus Wade. And then he's a leading voice about how, Trump's words instill violence in America. I mean, it's just, if hypocrisy was a crime, he would probably get executed for it. But, look, I think we all know elections have consequences, and that, that the chief executive is in a position to do a lot to stock the benches. And it's not just the Supreme Court. I mean, this is a great lesson for people outside of law or who don't obsess on legal process like we do. That, all of these district court judges, names across the country you've never heard of, those selections, those confirmation hearings are so important because there's so much mischief that can follow if they're not good balls and strikes umpires. And that's why, these confirmation hearings, I love seeing guys like John Kennedy, just different folks lighting in with like fundamental process constitutional questions. And more often than not, exposing those Chuck Schumer picks as being woefully uneducated and ignorant and really incapable of being judges. But it's the sausage factory. Some of these people are getting through. They get in positions where everything around them is an echo chamber of support. The kind of the social climate of Washington, D.C. for judges is very one-sided. And so if you're going out on a limb and firing off all sorts of interrogatories to the Department of Justice and announcing that you're going to stop planes in mid-flight, then you're going to get heralded as a hero, as somebody fighting for, quote, rule of law, when really you're degrading the rule of law. Mm-hmm. All right, my friend, we very much appreciate you. Jim Trusty, thank you, brother. God bless you.
You too, man. Good to talk to you.
You too. Have a good weekend. He's a good man, Jim. He's a very good friend. And here it is. Story that came out during the course of this program from the Constipated News Network. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg, a.k.a. Bozoberg, vowed on Friday to find out whether officials in the Trump administration violated orders temporarily blocking the use of a 1798 law for deportations by refusing to turn 2 flights around last weekend. Now, the lawyers, the smartest they have, the Office of Legal Counsel, needs to be working with the prosecutors in this case and get this matter taken out of this judge's hands into the Supreme Court in an emergency form, an emergency appeal of sorts, to get it to them as soon as possible. And I would seek to bypass the appellate court, too. It's a bad court. I will get to the bottom of whether they violated my order, who ordered this, and what the consequences will be, Boasberg said near the end of an hour-long hearing over whether he should lift the pair of orders he issued last Saturday. Yeah, because he is, as Jim says, setting up a contempt scenario. But he's got a problem. But he won't care. Needs to be in writing, the order, but he won't care. Comments came as Boasberg, the chief judge of the federal trial-level court in Washington, D.C., was closer to deciding whether the administration flouted his orders when it allowed 2 flights carrying migrants being deported under the Alien Enemies Act to continue last weekend despite his verbal command. So now the guy's ego is about, understand something. This guy sits in his conference room with his 2 or 3 clerks. That's all he's got. That's all he is. He's a lawyer. He got confirmed to be a judge. Your Honor, you get a courtroom with all kinds of cool wooden panels. Yes. You get a cool desk. It's up higher than the parties, so you can stare down on them. It's all intended this way. That's right. You're out of order, you know. Follow my orders or else. They get a simple majority of the members of the Senate. And they know they have the press behind them if they rule the right way. But this guy is a radical Democrat activist. The media are trying to pretend that he was first appointed by George W. Bush, which he was. But I've explained that till I'm blue in the face, Mr. Producer. He's part of a deal to get other Republicans on the court. He's not a George W. Bush appointee because George W. Bush agreed with him. He's a George W. Bush because the Democrats insisted on it. Comments came as Boasberg, in my view, was closer to holding the department in contempt, maybe several departments. He might even try holding the president in contempt, even though the president wasn't there. Boasberg wants a constitutional confrontation. Boasberg wants a drama. Boasberg wants Trump to be called a dictator, a lawless president, now with a contempt as a scarlet letter on his forehead. Boasberg, this is lawfare 2.0, as everybody is saying. Boasberg is a radical, rogue federal judge. So are the others, the more recent ones that Schumer got on the bench. And now they're throwing their weight around. That's what they're doing. I urge you to do what AOC does. I urge you to do what members of the Supreme Court do. I urge you to do what members of the media do and their entrails like Mediaite. Watch what I say on Saturday, tomorrow night, on Life, Liberty, and Levin. Watch it at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And Sunday, too. It's really part 1 and part 2, my monologues, my opening statements. They are intended to send a message. They're intended to inform you, we the people. I'm telling you, tune in. If you're not sure you're going to be home, right now, set your DVR, your TiVo, whatever you use to record. Set it. Simple. Much of Friday's hearing, while this program was on, focused on arguments from the Department of Justice for why Boasberg should lift his orders that stopped, or for now, President Donald Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to quickly deport some migrants whom the U.S. has accused of being affiliated with Venezuelan gang Tres del Agua. Now, the administration is arguing Boasberg exceeded his authority in blocking the removals because they say Trump's use of the act is unreviewable by judicial courts. It's 100% correct. This is an international gang. It's funded by the Venezuelan government. It does the dirty work of the Venezuelan government. Ensign repeatedly argued that the migrants subject to Trump's proclamation, Ensign being of the Justice Department, invoking the act can instead raise challenges to the removal through individual habeas petitions. And it goes on. Regardless of how he rules, the administration's appeal of his orders will be heard at the U.S. District Court in Washington on Monday afternoon. Again, I would urge the appellate folks at the Department of Justice to go directly to the Supreme Court and ask the court to resolve this, given what's at stake, given that it's eventually going to get there, given the amount of time that's involved. Because right now, things are on hold. The judge expressed concern about the policy implication of Trump's use of the statute, calling it an unprecedented and expanded use of the 18th century wartime law that has rarely been invoked. Hey, Judge, you're using a fiction called judicial review that came into existence in our country as applies here. You're using an 1803 Marbury versus Madison Supreme Court decision to say that the 1790 whatever it is act is old. Now, how stupid are you, Judge? How stupid are you? And how stupid are you not to put in writing whatever your damn order was? It's incredible, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm here to sort things out. Oh, yeah, you're in the right place at the right time. That's correct. Right place at the right time. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. Well, I promised you the song that my daughter sang several years ago. She never did pursue a singing career. I've always felt she could have been a wonderful singer. Her husband is a great songwriter, by the way, and they're in Nashville with our grandkids. But I want you to listen to this. So this is my daughter, Lauren. Her birthday is tomorrow. Big deal for us, March 22. May have been 2011, says Mr. Producer. So enjoy. Here it goes. Go.
He's from the city and I'm just a small town girl. He goes out and I'm stuck in my own world. For the first time my patience is wearing thin. But I don't know how to get to him. So come and take me home.
that a beautiful song? I think so. My beautiful daughter, her birthday's tomorrow, March 22nd. My wonderful son, his birthday's May 11th. We'll celebrate him, and another daughter and another son will celebrate them too. We're very lucky. Got great kids here. Great grandkids too. Just terrific. We're very, very lucky. Mr. Producer, don't you love that song? We haven't played that song in like 5 years, have we? Yeah, no, that was a fantastic song. And now she's, a grown woman, kids, husband, and so forth in Nashville. So she didn't pursue it. I wish she had, but it doesn't matter. She's still great. And so are you, folks. The Power Hour is next. It's Friday. We keep the foot on the pedal, baby. Lots more. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. The Power Hour, Hour 3, the last hour of the week. I'm Mark Levin. Welcome. Thanks for being here. President Trump has maximum access, or gives it to the media. And, often it's around 4 o'clock or so. And many of you are working, so you don't get to hear some of this. So we try to capture what we consider to be some of the most important comments. And just so you know, he really is brilliant in the way he responds to these people. He's a good man. He follows the Constitution. He's defending the country. And he really is brilliant in his give and take with the really, truly corrupt media. Did Biden have the authority to let millions of illegal aliens in the country? President Trump asks a reporter that asks if he has the authority to deport them. Cut 14, go.
Do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against
First of all,
them?
what kind of question is this? And the answer is yes. Presidents have been doing this since the beginning of the Republic. So the answer to the reporter is yes. They used to love Dwight Eisenhower. He rounded up 1 million illegal aliens, criminals and not, and removed them in 6 months. He didn't have to deal with any courts, any court order, temporary restraining order, temporary injunction, permanent orders. He didn't have to deal with anything. So that's the answer to that, lady. Let's start over. Cut 14, go.
Do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to
And
show
notice,
the
round up people. Who did he round up? Venezuelan gang members. Who did he round up? Sympathizers to terrorists. People who are related to terrorists. How this moron, this so-called reporter, go ahead.
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because we were, unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable? Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers and very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murders they've murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country. They're in a location near you. Biden allowed that to happen to our country. And his people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country? Many of these people, hardened criminals at the top of the line who have caused tremendous damage.
Yeah, I mean, perfect answer. And notice they never asked a question like that. They never asked Biden that question. No judge ever stopped Biden, and no judge would ever stop Biden. Folks, this is so corrupt. This is such a sham, what these courts are doing, what's happening on immigration, and all across the board. President won in a landslide. He won fair and square. He won the majority vote, the popular vote. He won all the so-called battleground states. He won a major electoral victory as well. He had gains in every sector of this country, whether it's ethnic, religious, female, male, every part of the country. And you have one judge who says no on immigration. You have another judge who says no on access to Social Security information. Another judge who says no access to payroll information at Treasury, where they're trying to find out if there's fraud. And we know there is. The GAO keeps saying there is. And another judge who has spent his career fighting on behalf of DEI, ruling that DEI must still be imposed throughout the government. These suits have all been planned. They were planned in advance. We talked about it. They're all funded. They're all organized. Chuck Schumer confessed that he put 235 quote-unquote progressives on the court to thwart Trump. Now, this isn't a democracy. This isn't a republic. This isn't a constitutional government. What the hell is it? What the hell is it? And they run around talking about democracy. And they run around talking about the Constitution, the very people who've destroyed it. Again, I just want to strongly encourage you, watch these shows this weekend. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Set your DVR, set your TiVo, whatever you use to record it, just in case. Folks, I don't need ratings. I don't need hits. I don't need anything. I'm not going anywhere. I want you to watch it. I want you to spread the word. This is a battle for this republic. This is a battle for your freedom and your liberty and your rights. That's what it is. And we need you to be informed. We need you to be encumbered with information that nobody's ever shared with you, that you didn't learn in high school or college, and you're not getting today in the media or anywhere else. I'm quite serious about this. And so I'm trying to fill this gap in radio, on the Blaze, and on my Fox show. The Fox show is different than any other show on cable, anywhere. This radio show is different than any other radio show anywhere. Same with my Blaze program. I'm an activist, I tell you all the time. But I'm also a bit of a geek or a nerd. What am I going to be doing this weekend? Everybody says, what are you doing this weekend? I'm writing my book. I'm working on my book. Now, when I write a book and work on a book, in addition to the God knows how many hundreds of millions of words I've already read up to this point in my life, I've got to read millions more and share my knowledge that I glean and I gain and my reasoning and rationality based on my moral beliefs, based on my principles and values for you. I do it on radio, I do it on TV, I do it on Blaze, and I'm doing it in this book. That's what I'm doing this weekend. And by the way, a little inside baseball, not that you care. When I got this horrendous injury in September, I was bedbound. I couldn't even sit at a desk. I couldn't even sit right to read a book, let alone write a book. So I got way behind. So I've been working and working and working on the weekends. Again, I'm not asking you to cry on my shoulder. I'm just explaining what's going on here. I'm up at 5:30 in the morning. I'm hitting the pillow about 1:30 in the morning to do this program, to do my Blaze show, to do my Fox show, and to get this book right. Not just to get it done, but to get it right. Because when it's done, as you know, I'm going to encourage you to read it and to share it. And so it's got to be a high quality. It's got to have a purpose. It's got to be meaningful. And I am an activist, and I am telling you now, that's going to be the point here. On the other hand, I write things that are unique, things that are different, but things I hope that are propitious. You don't need repetition from any of my former books. You don't need repetition from whatever any contemporary authors have written or had written for them either. This book isn't about me. The only book that was ever about my family and me was Rescuing Sprite, and I needed to write it, and a lot of people were pleased that I wrote it. But that's the only one. 10 books, 9 of them have been about philosophy, history, ancient history, American history, economics, current events, in different ways, in different forms. One book is built on the next. One book is built on the next. That's the point. That's the way I do it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I'm very pleased to have with us our buddy Jim Simpson. It's been a while. This guy's a smart man. He writes great books, and they're books that are compelling and intriguing and important. And he's written a book, Manufactured Crisis, The War to End America. Jim, welcome, and tell America why you wrote this book.
Hey, Mark, great to be with you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's because look around you, look at everything that's happening. I've studied this issue since the mid-1980s when I realized what the left was planning and carrying out for our country, and it's all come to pass. It's all come to light. It was all a lot of it was under the table before. Now, in the past 4 years, I'm kind of grateful to Joe Biden in a way for exposing just how bad these people are. And the reason I wrote this book, because basically everything they've done is deliberate. It is a deliberate, they create crises in every sphere of existence. And that has to do with, our school kids learning critical race theory and transgenderism and not being taught how to read, write, and prepare themselves for life in the real world. It has to do with the insanity we see in the streets, people burning Elon Musk's EV cars that a year ago they were insisting we all had to buy. Everything that they do is a planned crisis, and it's not a new idea. I quote Vladimir Lenin, the first leader of the Soviet Union, in saying, way back then, deepen the crises, find, exacerbate, and exaggerate existing problems, social and ethnic differences, and then magnify them. And if you can't create them, claim they do exist, and then deepen them, and then profit from them, and then, in the resulting chaos, blame our enemies for the whole mayhem. Doesn't that sound like what's going on right now?
It does.
And then finally come up with solutions that favor us. And so they come up with solutions that make things even worse. And the people who really articulated this openly were two Columbia University college professors who Richard Cloward and Francis Fox Piven, who wrote a article for The Nation magazine called The Weight of the Poor, and it was about creating a crisis through the welfare system. And then they went on to create a crisis in the voting system by writing and then having Clinton pass the National Voter Registration Act. In other words, all of these things that they have done collectively are deliberately designed to destroy our country, to collapse our system that can then be replaced with, and I hate to use the C word, but with a communist country, or, as they put it, a socialist nation on the road to communism.
That's all brilliantly put. It's exactly right. That's exactly what's going on. This is not a simple political back and forth. The Democrat Party now is the party of the Marxists and the Islamists, as you point out. And as you point out, they exist to create turmoil, turn American against American, get people to sour on the Republicans, so forth. So who do you think the leading figures are right now in doing this?
Oh, my. Well, of course, we all know George Soros puts his money behind it. George Soros and many other wealthy billionaire individuals and tax-exempt foundations. You know, the Ford Foundation essentially created the open borders agenda. You know, they have $12 billion in assets, or at least they did at the last time I checked. And that organization is responsible for creating open borders. They funded all the open borders, Hispanic activist groups, and all those groups that have been helping people come from Central and South America. The United Nations is a big part of it. The World Economic Forum is a forum for people to learn, basically, this is what they intend. The World Economic Forum was founded in 1973 by a very little known, but probably the most important United Nations figure called Maurice Strange. And Maurice,
I remember that name.
Remember that? Yep.
Yeah.
And he's the guy who said, you know, what if a bunch of wealthy guys got together and decided that the Western society had to collapse? And then what if they orchestrated that collapse by manipulating the financial system, manipulating the stock market and causing it to crash? Well, you know, that is in reality what George Soros has done in many different countries, and he's doing here. And so these are people who they want to see our nation, and they're not strictly Americans. This is an part of the international communist movement, which remains led to this day by Russia and communist China. And as we all know, communist China has been extremely active in penetrating all the institutions of our culture, penetrating our political system, and it's really reached a fever pitch. They were behind many of the Black Lives Matter riots that occurred during the George Floyd, the summer of those riots. And so it's very widespread, and I call the Democratic Party the wholly owned subsidiary of the Communist Party USA, because in many ways that's what it is. The Marxists are...
I want to hold you over, Jim Simpson. The book is great, folks. Manufactured Crisis, The War to End America. This is a very, very serious and important book. You can go to Amazon.com and order it now and have it at your doorstep by tomorrow morning. I encourage you to do that. I'm talking to Jim Simpson. Again, the book is Manufactured Crisis, The War to End America. I'll be right back.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
Very compelling book, ladies and gentlemen. I encourage you to grab a copy at Amazon.com. Manufactured Crises, The War to End America, with our friend Jim Simpson. So, Jim, now we have I'll call them the Schumer judges. He bragged the other day on PBS. You got 235 progressives, meaning Marxists, on the bench here. Yep. This really is a massively manufactured crisis, isn't it?
Yes, it certainly is. But, you know, it's part and parcel of what they have been doing for decades by infiltrating these kinds of people into our various institutions. And as you know, they called it the Long March through the institutions. It started with the Frankfurt School, which was relocated at Columbia University Teachers College, where they created critical theory, which became critical race theory, which became critical legal theory, and hundreds of little critical theories to parse out and criticize every aspect of our society, to put us at war with ourselves. And while they were doing that, they were infiltrating like-minded people into important positions, especially, for example, in human human services offices.
Human resources,
Human resources, excuse me. So that they could be oversee the hiring of people underneath them who would have the same political outlook and the same agenda in mind. And that's what happened with, as Chuck Schumer acknowledged, they put 200, I forget the number, but 235 progressive judges in place to fight the Trump agenda. Now, that's not the role of a judge. The role of a judge is to oversee the enforcement of law and be unbiased about it. And what they're doing is deliberately in your face violating the law, violating the Constitution, ignoring, ridiculing, making a mockery of the Constitution, while they are finding every means possible to put up obstructions against what President Trump is doing, which is really what our country has needed for many decades.
Folks, he's a great guy. Excuse me. It's a great book. He's smart as hell. And the book is Manufactured Crises, The War to End America. You can get it on my social sites. It's posted up there. We link to Amazon.com. You can get it. I encourage you strongly. Grab a copy. Manufactured Crisis, The War to End America. It really is, it's shocking. And Jim, I want to thank you. You've been very patient about this. You're a good man. It's a great book, and I hope America steps in and grabs their copy and informs themselves. So take care of yourself.
Well, Mark, thanks so much for having me. They can also go to crisisnow.net where they can click through directly to the Amazon site. And I really appreciate the time you've given me, Mark. I can't tell you how much.
Likewise, buddy. You take care of yourself. He's a good guy. Good guy. Let's take some calls, shall we? Yes, we can. Larry, excuse me, Roberts, Illinois, the great WRPW. Larry, go right ahead, please.
Mark, I feel like I just got a total education from you two guys just moments ago. I want to thank you for playing your daughter's song. She has a beautiful voice.
Thank you. She does.
This has just been a marvelous evening listening to your program, and now I will come to my comment.
Yes,
what
sir.
you
Thank
guys
you.
were talking about, I called these Obama sleeper cells, although I guess there were a few Biden sleeper cells, but all these
They're definitely
judges,
Schumer sleeper cells too. But
yeah, definitely these guys were just seated around. Oh, just sit back. Don't really do anything. Oh, if criminal activity happens, don't worry about that. Don't pay any attention to the people coming across the border and committing crimes. We've got something else for you to do. And so then here they popped up. And I feel so badly for President Trump that he decided to put up with these inbred morons, but that's exactly what they are. And if you notice, I do the pedigrees on some of these. Do you notice how many of them were not even born in the United States?
Good. That is a great point. You're right.
Not even Americans.
It's like Mershon wasn't born in the United States either, in New York.
Exactly. These people are coming from everywhere else, and then they go into the legal system, and they learn about our country, and then I'm thinking, why did they go to learn our laws? Evidently so they could break them. But
good caller, brother. Well said. We've had a lot of good callers since we've opened up the phone lines a lot more, and a lot of great authors and guests, too. I'm very encouraged by all this. A lot of people in the country who are more patriotic than many of the people who were born in this country, too, I noticed, like these leftist Marxists. But in terms of the courts and the lawyers, I think that's right. Not all, obviously, but so many are in this country populating our courts and tearing down our country. But it's thanks to people like Schumer, born in the United States, and people like Biden and Obama, born in the United States, that this is happening. All right, let's go to the gene pool. And off we go. We'll see how many of these people are still there, Mr. Producer. Michael, Columbus, Ohio, on the Mark Levin app. How are you?
I am excellent, sir. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I'm driving truck right now, and I want to let you know it's because of you that I actually got into this. In the middle of the pandemic, when stuff started falling apart, I was trying to do what I could, and the way you talk about truckers, it gave me an idea that I could do something. You know, I'm too old to go back into the military or anything like that, or be a police officer. But this,
God bless you, man. So how do you like it?
I love the job, but I got to tell you, there's something I'd like to actually bring to Kennedy Jr.'s attention, and it's just these guys. I'm about 180 pounds, 6 foot. These guys are 4 bills. There's a lot of unhealthy.
I know there's a lot
road.
of crap at these truck stops and these restaurants and these fast food. I know I go to them, or I've been to enough of them.
It's garbage. Yeah, it's a shame. But getting to what I called you for, sir, I wanted to find out.
Sure does taste good, I have to admit. Anyway, go right ahead.
Comfort food's amazing. Yeah. I wanted to know, with all these this overreach, at some point, first of all, I wonder how many of these judges coordinate with each other. Because
here's the thing. They do get on the phone with each other, but even if they didn't, they know what each is doing. They read the newspaper. They know their backgrounds. They know who they owe their appointments to. They know who are bringing the cases. It's all in the same genre. And they know what their job is. And their job is to thwart Trump. That's why they got these jobs.
Can they be charged with anything? Is there any way?
No, they can't be charged. Under our system, they can't be charged. People have been talking to the president about impeaching them. The problem is you're not going to get 67 votes in the Senate to remove a judge, because you won't get all the Republicans. There's only 53 of them, and you won't get a single Democrat. So my argument has been abolish some of their positions. Send a message now. Abolish Boasberg's job. They're created by Congress. They can be eliminated by Congress. Abolish half a dozen of them. Now, we still have the filibuster rule in the Senate, so it's going to be up to people like Senator Thune and Speaker Johnson to figure out how to get around the filibuster, and I just assume there's a way to do it through reconciliation. I'm talking about spending. If you abolish the courtroom, it's because you're abolishing the money for it. And so try that. Do whatever you need to do, because constitutionally, we are at a crossroads now. We're either going to live in a judicial tyranny of radical left-wing Marxist Islamist judges coming out of the Ivy League schools and so forth, or we're going to have our republic back. But the crossroad is right now. It's now.
Do you think Congress could create a law that could, if stop this? Is there any way?
No, they can't create a law. These guys are claiming they're acting under the Constitution. Now, John Roberts, they can put an end to this tomorrow. The next case that comes up there, certainly. But he was reluctant to do so the first time. In fact, he sided with the wrong side. He gave us one sentence. He didn't even explain it to the president or the American people. It was a disgusting disgrace. And I can assure you, if William Rehnquist was still the Chief Justice, it wouldn't have happened. All right, my friend, I got to go. Hard break. Thank you. Be safe out there. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I don't know. We're going to try and slip in a caller real fast here. Let's go to AJ, British Columbia, Canada. AJ, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. How are you doing? I really appreciate you taking the call.
Of course. Go right ahead. We're going to run out of time.
Oh, all right. Sorry. So I had a question for you, since you're incredibly versed in these issues. But if a district judge can set nationwide injunctions, effectively claiming the jurisdictional authority on an issue, can Trump allies like the Heritage Foundation not preemptively challenge new orders by forum shopping to a more conservative jurisdiction and beating the ACLU?
Well, they can, but here's the problem. How would the case present itself? They're not suing the administration. So you have to actually be bringing a case, and you have to have standing. Somebody who you represent has to be affected by it. But I have a better idea, I think. Why have all these district judges? If they're going to be national judges, just blow them out altogether. We don't need district judges. The cases will be heard by circuit courts. The circuit will take care of all of them. We don't need trial judges anymore. They'll handle the trials. They will effectively handle any of the constitutional issues, and will go straight from the circuit courts to the Supreme Court. We don't need these district judges anymore. America every Friday in your honor. Here we go. Birthday to our Lauren. We love you, honey. Her birthday's tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. And all of you folks, I hope we'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox, Life, Liberty, and Levin, and Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Please set your DVRs, record it. These are two incredibly important shows. Trust me, I wouldn't tell you if I didn't believe it. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine, the men and women in Israel. And you. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Zelda. Good night, Smokey and Gigi and Indy. Good night, Patton and Barney and Rory and Marty. Good night, Dad and Mom. Good night, Leo. Good night, Bernie. Good night, Joe. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Lou. Good night, all great patriots who have passed, and all of you, the great patriots who are here today. Have a fantastic weekend. The week is officially over. The weekend begins right now. Keep your chin up. You are the Thomas Paines. You are the Paul Reveres. Watch tomorrow night and Sunday and spread the word. I'll see you tomorrow night.